Look, nobody ever starts a project hoping for a dispute, right? But let's be real. In construction, disagreements happen. The good news is the new NZS 3910-2023 standard gives us a really clear roadmap for what to do when they pop up. And knowing this process, it's not just about ticking some contractual box. It's about protecting your project, your budget, and honestly, your relationships. Okay, so let's get right into it. Picture this. You're on site. A big issue has just come up. Maybe it's a variation. Maybe it's a delay. And you and the principal just cannot see eye to eye. You can feel that tension building. So, what do you actually do? What does the contract say happens next? Where do you even start? So, here's our game plan. We're going to walk through the exact path laid out in the new standard. We'll look at the main dispute process. We'll talk about the Independent Certifier's role. Then, we'll dive into negotiation and mediation. And finally, the last stop, arbitration. And then, we will tackle that big question, where the heck does adjudication fit into all of this? Alright? The best way to think about the whole process in NZS 3910 is to picture it as an escalation ladder. It's specifically designed to sort things out on the lowest, fastest, and cheapest rung possible. You only climb higher up to the more formal and more expensive methods when you absolutely have to. It brings a clear structure to what could otherwise be a really chaotic situation. So, here's that ladder we were just talking about, all laid out in Clause 13. It kicks off with negotiation. If that doesn't work, you move up a rung to mediation. And if you are still at a stalemate, the final contractual step is arbitration. You can see how each step raises the stakes and brings more people into the mix. But hold on. Before you even put a foot on that formal dispute ladder, there's a really critical checkpoint. This involves a key player whose job it is to clarify things before they blow up into a full-blown formal dispute, and that's the Independent Certifier. Yeah. So, under Clause 6.2.2, the Independent Certifier, or the IC, has to act fairly and impartially. Now, this is key. They're not an agent for the principal. They're meant to be a neutral umpire. They'll look at the issue and issue a formal decision. And this is the part you really got to get. That decision often becomes the official trigger. If either you or the principal disagrees with it, then you can start climbing that formal dispute ladder. So, let's move on to the first couple of rungs of that ladder. The standard really wants the parties to try and sort things out themselves first. You can think of these as the collaborative steps. They are all about finding some common ground without needing someone else to come in and make a binding ruling. First up, negotiation. Clause 13.1.1 is very specific here. It says, senior members from both sides must meet and try to solve the problem in good faith. Now, don't get it twisted. This isn't just some informal chat over a coffee. It's a mandatory first step designed to get the actual decision makers in a room to find a commercial solution before things escalate. So, what if negotiation doesn't work? Well, Clause 13.2 says, either party can take the next step up to mediation. Now, you're bringing a neutral third party into the room, but their job isn't to make a decision for you. A mediator is there to guide the conversation, to help you both talk, and to help you find your own resolution. The outcome is only binding if you both agree and sign a settlement. And this brings us to what is maybe one of the most important rules in this whole thing. Clause 13.4 is crystal clear. Just because there's a dispute, it does not mean the project grinds to a halt. The contractor has to keep working, and the principal has to keep making payments. You can call it the keep the wheels turning clause. It's there to stop either side from using the dispute as leverage to stop work or choke off cash flow. Super important. So, what happens if you've tried negotiation, you've tried mediation, and you're still completely deadlocked? Well, this is when you climb to the very top of the contractual disputes ladder, arbitration. This is pretty much the end of the line. as far as the NZS 3910 process is concerned. Arbitration is a much more formal, almost a legal process. As it says in clause 13.3.4, the whole issue gets handed over to a sole arbitrator. They'll listen to the evidence from both sides, a bit like a judge, and then they issue a decision, which is called an award. And under the contract, that award is final and legally binding. There's no appeal. This is it. Game over. But I know what you're thinking. For anyone who's worked in NZ construction, there's a big question just hanging in the air. Where does adjudication fit in? It wasn't on that ladder we just climbed. So, what gets? And here's the crucial thing to understand. Adjudication is not a contractual process. It's a statutory right given to everyone in the industry by the Construction Contracts Act. This means it runs on a completely separate parallel track. You can kick off adjudication at the very same time you are going through negotiation, mediation, or even arbitration under the contract. So, let's put them side by side to really see the difference. First, their origin. Arbitration comes from the contract you signed. Adjudication comes from an act of parliament. It's the law. Their purpose is totally different. 2. Arbitration is all about getting a final binding resolution. Adjudication, on the other hand, is built for speed. It's about getting a rapid interim decision to keep the cash flowing. It's that classic pay now, argue later approach that leads to how binding they are. An arbitrator's award is final. An adjudicator's decision is only temporarily binding. And finally, speed. Arbitration can drag on for months. Adjudication is designed to be done and dusted in a matter of weeks. So, to wrap all this up, what are the absolute must-knows? First, follow the contractual ladder. Negotiation, then mediation, then arbitration. Second, remember that the Independent Certifier's decision is that critical trigger point. Third, never forget the golden rule from clause 13.4. Work and payments do not stop. And finally, always be aware of your separate statutory right to go for a fast-track adjudication under the CCI. So now you know the path. You've seen the map, but you know knowing the map is one thing. Being ready for the journey is something else entirely. Navigating this stuff effectively takes preparation. It takes fantastic recording, and it takes a clear strategy right from day one. So, the real question to take back to your team isn't if they know the process. Are you guys genuinely prepared to walk this path if you have to?